Happy New Year. It is the 1st of January, and I have started reading my first books. As of right now, I am reading This River Has Roots by Amar El-Motar. I am also reading Moonshot, an Indigenous Comics Collection, Volume 3. And I also started an audiobook of Pride and Prejudice. Why am I reading so many books, do you ask? Well, this comic collection I intended to get to sooner. The time that I would normally spend reading, I was not able to spend reading because of stuff with my kid. So I just started this last night. And then This River Has Roots, I had requested, or not requested, but I'd put it on hold through Libby, and my hold came in. And then I realized it's a really short book. So I was like, actually, I can totally read that. I can definitely read that alongside other books because it's such a short book. I can get through it pretty fast. And then part of my plan for today is to do a bunch of deep cleaning of the apartment. I've already taken down the Christmas tree and swept pretty much the whole apartment. I put away a bunch of different decorations and wintry stuff. And now I am going to, I have to motivate myself to do it. I'm going to scrub the floors because I haven't done that since moving in here, and I should probably give a deep clean of the floors at some point. So I'm going to do that. And I figured while I'm doing all of this work, it might be nice to just put on headphones and listen to something. And normally I would just put on YouTube videos and listen to them, but the amount of time I am going to spend on chores, I don't want to have to keep stopping and finding a new video, or possibly have a video on that I want to stop and go look at what's happening in the video and all this stuff, right? I want to just be able to focus. And Pride and Prejudice, I know I can just listen to and go. I'm also doing it as an experiment because I'm not huge on audiobooks. I like audiobooks for rereads to get myself caught up before I continue a series. But I don't really like to just listen to an audiobook on its own. I prefer to read the words on the page. However, I find some classics can be a bit daunting to read through. The sentences are structured differently, and it can be a little confusing to try and parse them when I'm reading them with my eyeballs. But I realized if I listen to an audiobook, it'll be way easier to follow. And guess what? I was correct. So I'm doing that for Pride and Prejudice. And then if that goes well, I might try working my way through some other Jane Austen. Because I want to read more classics, but I just always find it so daunting. And I figured this is a good way to do that. Anyway, those are my plans for now. Maybe I'll try and get through all of these this weekend. I don't know. We'll see. But that's what I'm working on right now. I gotta get off my butt and go scrub the floor. I realized I said all that and then I didn't talk about what any of these books are about. This River Has Roots. I am 30 pages in, and it is about two sisters who live along this river, and they are part of a family that are sort of stewards to these basically magical willow trees. But the magic in the story is interesting in that it hasn't been fully explained yet, but it's referred to as grammar, and it's you conjugate it and you form it and you distill it and stuff. So it sounds like language itself is magic in certain applications, which is very cool. This here, in Indigenous futurism in a series of different comics. So it's a comic anthology. So it's a bunch of short story comics throughout the collection. This is the third one I've read. I loved the other two. And I'm really excited to read this one. And then Pride and Prejudice is Pride and Prejudice. I don't think I need to explain that one. If you don't know what Pride and Prejudice is, where have you been? All right, I have finished reading 2 books since I last updated. I read the entirety of Pride and Prejudice via audio yesterday. It was great. I've read Pride and Prejudice more than once. It's great. I think my scheme of reading classic literature via audiobook is the way to go. I'm super blown out by the sun. Sorry. This just is what it is. I'm not going to go up and close the curtain right now. I also just finished reading This River Has Roots. I don't know how to talk about this book. It was really good. I really liked it. But it's so different from what I usually read, and I'm just not really sure how to talk about it. I guess like the magic system was cool. I think I talked about that a little bit, about how it's like grammar and it's the idea of like conjugation and transformation. But it's also fae. And I love fae stuff, like fae stuff that is actually fae, where it deals with like, you know, the power of names and trickery and riddles and time being weird and like all that stuff. I love that. I love fae stuff. I don't know. It was a very interesting story and a very different story, or at least for me. I don't read stories like this very often, and I did really like it. I thought it was very beautifully written. I don't know how else to talk about it without getting into spoilers, and I don't want to spoil this. I'll say that this is a book, it's not a long book, so it's very much the kind of thing that like a lot of people could read this in one sitting, and I think it is worth picking up, even if it doesn't sound like your kind of thing. It's a short enough book that it's easy to get through, and I think it's worth experiencing just for the uniqueness of it and how beautiful the writing is and how just like vivid and interesting the world is. And I did really love that the sisterly relationship was ultimately the most important thing in the story. Even outside of, there's a romance, but like the sisterhood is what's most important, and I really appreciated that. Yeah, and that's where I'm at with these books. I still have this to read. I'm pretty sure I can also finish that before the weekend is out, and I think that's my goal, is to try to have all of these read before the end of the weekend, and then I can just have this be like a weekend vlog kind of situation. But in the meantime, I need to go to the store and grab some groceries. It seems nice out. It's actually sunny. So I'm going to go walk to the store, try to enjoy the sunshine a bit. And maybe I might run some other errands later. I'm debating on, I went to the mall last weekend with the intention of bringing, I have electronic recycling I need to drop off, like small electronics. And there's a bin for that at the mall, but I just forgot to bring my stuff. So I didn't do that. But I'm also not sure if I have other stuff I need to do at the mall, so I don't know if it's worth it. And then I'm also kind of debating going downtown, but maybe, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do yet. I just know I want to go out and do something. In terms of what else I got up to this weekend, because I had intended this to be a video where I like kind of vlog about what I'm doing, and then I didn't really vlog yesterday. But yesterday I mostly spent my time working on editing a video, my Alchemy and a Cup of Tea video, and I also did some writing. I did some more work on my, I hope this video's out by now, another kind of writing video where I'm using tarot cards to brainstorm the religion for The Willing and the Chosen. I'm having so much fun with that. Now I need to go back through my draft and find places to work in references to it and just have that be like part of the world. So that's really exciting to be working on. And maybe I'll do more work on that today, actually. Maybe I'll work on fleshing out more stuff for The Willing and the Chosen. Anyway, that's where I'm at right now. I should actually go to the store now. Okay, bye. I've showered, I'm now getting breakfast ready, and I'm figuring out what my agenda for today is. One, I do want to try and read all of the Moonshot comic collection that I have, so I should sit down and do that at some point. I also need to take out some garbage and recycling and stuff, so just some chores. I have a little bit more tidying to do. I want to start book 2 of The Willing and the Chosen, because when I write series, I'll write pretty much all of one book and I'll have it near final stage, and then I'll start writing the next book, and I'll try to get at least a complete first draft of that before I'm fully done with the first book, because then I know how the books refer to each other, if that makes sense. It just helps me with continuity, especially where I'm not a plotter, I'm a plantser. I kind of plan an outline, but I also kind of fly by the seat of my pants. So I need to make sure that my writing is happening in an order where I can refer back to drafts and make changes as necessary. So I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna finish editing and upload another video because I'm doing really good at that. And I think those are my main things today. I'm considering at some point going to a little like cafe or something so that I don't spend all day alone in my apartment. Maybe get myself a little hot chocolate while I write. We'll see. That's my plan for today. I have not been updating this vlog a lot. I'm mostly doing things where I just sit and work. I did get some admin stuff done yesterday, which was nice. Did some insurance stuff and started the process of registering my kid for school. So that's good. That, I think, is my update for now. Hopefully I come back with a book finished later. And yeah, that's all. All right, update. Whoa, that lighting was wild. Update. I sat at a coffee shop and wrote the entire outline for book 2 of The Willing and the Chosen, and I'm very excited to start working on writing that book now. I figured a bunch of stuff out and I'm very excited. I also read 3 stories from Moonshot Volume 3. The first one I gave a 3. It was an interesting concept. I liked the idea, but there just wasn't a lot to it. That is a problem with a lot of the stories in this, is sometimes they feel too short. Like we just get the intro of the story and then it's done. So that's kind of how I felt about this one. The second one was like an indigenous superhero vibe, but like historical. And like it was a neat concept, but I just didn't really like the execution, especially like these are really short comics. And there was like 2 pages of dialogue that was just kind of the same point made over and over. And I was kind of like, okay, could we like go though? Like, and then the one I just read, I don't really get the point. But I really like the art style. So it got a 2.5. So these can be a little rough sometimes, but like, I just love, I love a lot of the art. I love the concept. It's a fun way to explore some little stories, but as is often the case with anthologies and short story collections, there can be a lot of misses. So hopefully I find more wins going forward. I read 3 more stories. I'm probably going to update this in intervals of 3 because that's just the easiest way to remember what I have read. One of them was like, it was like a picture and then text below it, so it wasn't really a comic. And it was almost like it started as one story and then it turned into another, and it was like, first it was a story about the peacemaker, but then it turned into a story about like protecting water, and like I kind of understood what it was going for, but it just needed a little bit more. It needed a little more added to it and also a little more refined. It didn't quite work. I gave that one a 3. The next one was about this like indigenous scientist who was working on some kind of space launch and basically used the wisdom of spider webs to solve the equation she was trying to use to make the launch work. I like that one. It was simple, but it worked. It did have some editing issues. Like sometimes I was trying to read the speech bubbles and I was like, there's a word missing here, or one of these words is conjugated wrong. So I gave that one a 4. And then the last one I just read was about how leaving Earth to extract resources from other planets basically brought poison back to Earth, and that poison basically turned people on Earth into zombies, except indigenous people, because indigenous people were barred from access to these resources, and how they were able to like use old teachings to survive. I really like that one. That one was a 5-star. So I'm this far in. I don't know. Can you see that? Not quite halfway. So I'm going to keep reading. Okay. The next 3 stories. There was a 5-star. It was about epigenetic trauma and experimental medicine and the way indigenous people are often used as guinea pigs in these types of medical trials, and also about like generational trauma and mental illness and suicide. And it was a really good story. It actually made me a little emotional. And like, it was as long as it needed to be, which, so as I said, some of these stories are just too short. They needed a couple more pages. This one was like the exact right length. And then the next one was written by Darcy Littlebadger, which I love Darcy Littlebadger. And it was about a future in which the land has been intentionally poisoned. And this scientist had developed this flower to tell when where the toxins in the soil were. And it was about like reconnecting with someone from her childhood and about like hope for the future of improving the soil. It's hard to describe, but I really liked it. It was a really good story. And then the last one I read, I DNF'd. It wasn't actually a short story. It was a short story. It wasn't actually a comic. It was just prose there were some pictures, like drawings here and there, and I did not like the style of the prose. So I DNF'd it. So I had some great wins and a major not good, but things have improved. We're getting 5 stars. All right, 3 more stories down. I read one that was about like a northern community. This group had a really successful caribou hunt, so they were distributing the excess meat to other families, especially those who were sick or couldn't hunt or elderly. And it was kind of this story about community and support, and how even if people are cruel or unkind, you still treat them with the same community care that you would anyone else, because you demonstrate to them how they should be treating others. And it was just a nice little story. I really liked it. I gave it 5 stars. I also read, there was this like Doctor Who-esque thing about this like indigenous well, they're all indigenous characters, but about the character who travels through space-time to fix all the little things space-time gets wrong. And it was just this fun, weird, quirky little story, and I loved it. It was a delight. 5 stars. Wonderful. And then I read one, not read, but looked at one that there was no dialogue or text. It was just panels, no words. And it was interesting, but I also I had a bit of a harder time getting it. So I like the concept, but it wasn't super for me, so I gave it a 3. And now I think I only have 1 story left in the collection. We shall see. I read the last story. It was, again, not really a comic. There weren't really pictures with it, but it was a short story, and I really, really liked it. That one was a 5 star. It was about this sort of like rebel figure who got captured in the process of she was part of a movement to try to shut down this government tracking system that tracked people through implanted IDs. And while she's detained, she ends up having this conversation with this trickster spirit that's trying to decide whether or not he will help her. And it was really good, and I really liked it. And that was the last story. That's it. So, I think my overall feelings of this collection would be a 4. It started rough, but it ended up getting really good, and the ones I liked, I really, really liked. And even some of the ones that I didn't like as much, one of the last ones I read, it wasn't that it was bad, it was that I just didn't really get it. And yeah, overall, it was a really good collection. I hope they keep putting out these Indigenous comics anthologies, because they're really fun and interesting, and it's just a very cool way to get to see a lot of different Indigenous stories. And if you've never read any Moonshot collections, you should, because they're great. Also, there's all kinds of different pretty art in here. Maybe I'll flip through it and show some. Okay, this is unfortunately difficult to show because of the fold in the pages, but this is just an art spread that's in the collection, and it's really beautiful, and I love it. This one I didn't get as much. It's the one that has no words, but the art is really cool. I fucking love this one. Look at his spaceship. It's a tree. It's so good. I also liked the art in this one by times. I particularly like this just funky little dude. I like him. This was one of the early ones where I didn't super get the story, but the art is really cool. So that's pretty fun. Yeah, so that's some of the art in this collection, and it's pretty cool, and you should check it out. We're rolling. I need to get more chores done today. So I got another Jane Austen audiobook. I just think it'd be really funny if I finish a book for every day this weekend to start off the year. That would be wild for my reading pace. So I'm gonna read Emma by Jane Austen. I read like half of that book more than 10 years ago now. And so I figure I should probably finish it. And what better way to do that than via audio? So I'm gonna put on my headphones, get started on some chores, and go do that. Okay, a quick update on my experience with the audiobook of Emma. I don't like the narrator of this one as much as I like the other one, but I'm making do. I find the voices a little harder to distinguish, but I also I definitely prefer Pride and Prejudice to Emma. This one I find kind of boring by times. It's a lot of I get what it's doing, and I understand at the time that this was just kind of riffing on common social occurrences and stuff like that, and I get that, but it doesn't make it fun to read. I am definitely glad I'm reading it as audio instead of reading it with my eyeballs, because I would struggle. I had thought that some of the things that are happening had happened a lot farther into the story, so maybe I'm misremembering how far I got into the book, because I'm 30% in and I feel like a lot of things have already happened. But also I think I misremembered the order of events, because there's a certain character, Frank, who I thought was introduced much earlier, but he hasn't even appeared yet. But I am going to keep listening to it. This is not a one-day listen, though. I'm not going to finish it today, because I still have 10 hours left of it. And it's late in the day, and I'm not doing that. But maybe I'll finish it tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see if I finish it this weekend, or if that'll be picked up later, or what. But in any case, I got some video editing done. I did a little bit of writing, or at least some editing. I tweaked some stuff in The Willing and the Chosen, where I was I need to make sure I introduce this character earlier. So I did that. I figured out a character name. Just the little details. And now I'm debating on if I want to start reading another book, because I bought a copy of Mate by Ali Hazelwood a little while ago, and I kind of want to read that. But that might be its own video, because I don't think I'm going to read that whole book tonight and tomorrow. I just don't think that's going to happen. So that might be its own video. Or I might do some more writing on book 2 of The Willing and the Chosen, because I'm just in the mood to work on that series more. I'm enjoying it. I'm making good progress, and I'm really excited for it again. I don't know how much more of an update I will have tomorrow, because I don't know if I'll be finishing another book tomorrow, given the 2 that I'm currently working on. So in the event that I don't have updates for tomorrow, this may be the last clip. So thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, what would be a good emoji? Just leave a book emoji. Why not? And I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye! Hello, hi. I did not feed reading. Huh? I did not finish reading Emma in the weekend of that video, but I also don't want to do a dedicated video for Emma, because I just don't have enough to say about it, but I also want to acknowledge that I read it. So here I am. I finished reading Emma this evening. It is many days later. Not that many days later. It is not yet the next weekend, but it is several days later. It was all right. I understand what the book was doing. I do get it, but it just wasn't as pleasant of a storytelling experience. It's much longer, and a lot of the length is just characters rambling. And again, I understand why it's happening, but that doesn't make it an enjoyable experience. I did enjoy all the tangled relationships, and she thinks this person likes this person, but they're actually talking about this person, but that person is interested in this person. It's, classic complicated love dodecahedron shit, and that's fun. I enjoy that. I'm gonna talk about the classic novel. There's spoilers. I did get some warm fuzzies with the when Knightley confessed to Emma. I am perhaps weirdly invested in Harriet and, oh, what's his name? The farmer. I can't remember the name of the family, but the original person who proposes to Harriet. Even though I don't know if he ever really even appears on page. I don't recall if he does, it's extremely brief. But I'm just very invested in that relationship, and I don't know, I think it's very sweet and I like it. And I like all the little details we get. And yeah, it's a little, soap opera drama kind of situation, and it's interesting, but it's not it it can't compare to Pride and Prejudice, and I shouldn't compare it to Pride and Prejudice, but Pride and Prejudice is my favorite classic novel, acknowledging that I have not read that many classic novels. But Pride and Prejudice is a favorite. I've read it 3 or 4 times. I read it for the first time in like ninth grade, just on my own voluntarily because I wanted to read it and I liked it then. So yeah, it's a hard comparison. I should also acknowledge that the audiobook I was listening to at times could be a little hard to follow because sometimes I had trouble. Part of it is the way the book is written, but the book was not written to be an audio book. But sometimes there aren't dialogue tags, and the voices weren't always distinct enough for me to follow when the speaker switched or who they switched to, especially in scenes where there was like a bunch of characters. So that did get a little confusing. I also will say, I know it's because of the time period it was written in, but the G slur, I was not prepared. There's a whole little subplot moment with that, and that was a lot. And again, I know at the time that it was written, that was just a normal thing, but I was not prepared. I didn't rate it on my story graph just because I feel a little weird rating it. But I think my personal feelings on it, and maybe I'll go back and read it, but my personal feelings on it are that my experience was like a 3.5. I enjoyed it. I don't regret reading it. It was fine. There were some good moments, but not my favorite storytelling experience. In any case, I guess I can round out this video. I'm pretty sure I did an emoji thing in an earlier clip. But maybe, I don't know. I actually cannot recall if I did. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, please leave a book emoji. Maybe that's what I said. Leave a book emoji in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!